No. You.
Welcome to DTLT Today. This is
Welcome.
a very special episode where we've brought the couch out here to Roanoke, Virginia.
Yeah.
Here we are in Roanoke.
Outside. And, oh, look, a bird.
I'm so glad that they let us
Droppings.
put our couch on their lawn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Speaking of birds,
What we have behind us is the Overlook Hotel.
speaking of birds, I have we're going to talk about VSTE today.
We are.
But
What is VSTE? Let's just set that up for our listeners and viewers.
VSTE is the Virginia Society for Technology and Education. It's the Virginia affiliate of ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education.
Gotcha.
And so speaking of birds, this is my VSTE story because we no longer haven't gone to the VSTE conference since like 2001 or something like that. So back in the day when we went to VSTE,
You were going before it was cool.
It was in
You're a
Roanoke.
hipster.
That's right. I think I went to
VSTE was
I went to
cool.
Roanoke one year and went to Norfolk one year.
Okay.
But when it was at the Hotel Roanoke, beautiful hotel by the way, we went out to dinner, and we had just gotten done, and we were walking back, and I asked somebody. I looked up and I said, "Is it raining?" And looking around, and there's clouds, but no rain to speak of. Nobody else is getting wet. And so I looked at my shoulder and in my hair, and I grabbed up here and I look, and there's this white crap in my hand.
It's nice.
A bird did its
Shat.
business
Shat on you.
in my hair and
Yeah.
on my jacket.
Wow.
And
Twice?
so, well, it just
It
was,
was
a
like a
big.
doo-doo?
It was a
It was-
big, huge.
It was a Chipotle Popo.
Yes, a giant bird popo
Oh,
shat upon Andy.
on the hair.
Oh, exactly.
It's on the hair.
Yeah, on the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that was
my
before
God.
my hair was big, but
That must have been devastating.
Yeah.
anyway,
You were
so
hipster before my hair was
but the
big.
nice thing about I did get a little gift. The story got around that I went out and the bird shit on my head. But during the famous time where they give out all the prizes, Danny, what was his name?
Arkin.
Danny Arkin was nice enough to give me I think it was a Symantec or a Norton jean jacket. Pretty nice jean jacket that I still have. I guess I still wear every once in a while.
I
but
haven't seen you wear that recently.
No, I haven't.
You
I
have
have
a
to, I'll have to,
semantic jean jacket.
I'll have to dig it out. Yeah, it's got a nice little leather collar
awesome.
on it. It is awesome.
Nice.
Anyway, that's my VSTE story.
Okay, one quick question before I let Tim take over. So why the dysfunction? Why after 2001 did UMW basically say VSTE, see you, wouldn't want to be you?
It essentially is a K-12 conference. They did, and at one time I think they talked about having more higher education participating, but we did a couple of presentations. I did one with Jerry Slazak one year, and it didn't seem to be, kind of fulfilling our needs in general. So we went to other conferences, and so it was a couple of years that we participated, and then it was done.
Yeah.
But now Tim brought us back in.
Well, in fact, and the reason because of that was because my wife, who was working as an elementary school teacher, got the chance to go. And that's how I got started with the organization, because I went with her just because I wanted to hang out at the hotel and, chill in the room, as I often did.
Like a creepy.
Yeah. You get the chance to hang out in a hotel.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? So I went, but then
Watching cable.
yeah, free Wi-Fi. Hey, but yeah, and I started looking at the sessions, and I was like, this is actually pretty cool stuff. It was my first time where I started to put the two and two of technology and education together, because I was coming from an art major background, working in IT as more of a support technician, and that was my first insight into this idea that technology wasn't just this tool that you support, but this idea of something that could go beyond it as a pedagogical type of idea.
So you kind of were born through VSTE as your ed tech kind of thought.
I guess so.
Like
I don't-
the idea of it.
Yeah, I guess in a way. I don't know. So I signed up to actually, I paid the walk-in fee to go to VSTE that year when my wife did it, And then from that year on, and then I said, well, I should try and present. I could talk about mobile devices, so I did that 1 year, and then year after I talked about iPhone applications, and my wife presented with me 1 year, and now I'm on the board of directors, and I've been on there. This is my second year on the board and my first year on the conference committee.
Now, does VSTE offer something like a Leader of the Year kind of
they offer
award?
They offer several awards, that being one of them.
I wonder if anyone that we know
Or may have been on DTLT Today.
It's
has
interesting that you mentioned
anything to
it.
do with one of these awards.
Our very own prodigy child, Tom Woodward.
VSTE's own.
VSTE's own
L'enfant
Tom
prodige.
Woodward is the VSTE Leader of the Year, and he'll get his award at the conference.
I want to give him a big round of applause. Big fan of his.
Cheers.
Congratulations,
Good
Tom.
stuff. Yeah, so I've got quite a weekend and early next week ahead of me of busyness. This will be the first conference where I'll be like working the whole time.
You have a VSTE tattoo.
Exactly.
I do, but it's nowhere I can show you. On the show. You have to really
It's a
get
tramp
to know
stamp.
So what if you were to kind of sell someone on why they'd want to come to VSTE this year in particular, why would they? What's happening at VSTE that's got you excited, and that would get others excited, particularly in our listening audience
There's a couple
or watching
things.
audience, live audience?
There's a couple things that I've gotten the pleasure of getting to work with. One idea that we had was that in addition to all of the regular sessions that you have, we wanted to do sort of this unconference idea, and I was kind of inspired by the Moose Camp stuff that they do at Northern Voice.
Yeah.
And so this idea that a community could decide, well, I'm doing something cool. It might not be an hour of cool stuff, and it might not be something that you wanted as a formal session, but it's something I'd like to talk about for 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes. Just stand up and talk about it and really have discussions surrounding different things. So we called it the Digital Sandbox. And so we're opening it up for all 3 days. We've got people coming in and doing stuff, left and right. And it's kind of nice because what we framed the space at is a place where people could come with couches and lounge chairs and recharge their devices. It's going to be near the food and stuff. They can come, they can hang out and recharge their devices, but there'll be these sort of informal presentations going on at the same time. So I'm really excited about that space in particular.
Are you setting up a DTLT Today episode? I mean, it
are.
sounds like a perfect place to sit in and get people and get them on camera and say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you here?
Yeah, we're going to do Monday, I think 2:30. I said I'd have to double check, but 2:30 I believe we'll do a DTLT Today episode, and I'll phone in from there, and y'all will broadcast it from here. So y'all get to meet the people there and see what's going on with that, and we'll do a quick episode
Great.
there. So that should be a lot of fun. Another thing I'm really excited about, Chris Lehman is speaking at it, who, of course, is the principal at Science Leadership Academy. I'm excited about that. He actually just recently, he's been making the tour of conferences in Virginia. He just recently spoke at the Virginia Association for Superintendents, and I can't remember the rest of it, but it's VASCD. So whatever that acronym stands for. I know it's primarily an administration and superintendent conference. So, but I'm excited to hear him speak. It is going to be busy, so it'll be one of my first conferences where I won't really be going to a lot of sessions, although I am excited. Tom Woodward is doing a session where he's going to talk about the ideas behind DS-106 and MOOCs in general and how you apply them to the K-12. Because you are right, Andy, it is primarily a K-12 conference, and I'm sort of the outlier there because I've always been in higher ed. And so everyone would ask, well, how did you get involved with VSTE? Because there really was no one else there in higher ed. And we're trying different angles, not just in higher ed, but trying to bring in, like, IT technical support people in. There's a couple tracks for, like, boring stuff like Windows 7 migration or how to deploy Apple products, and so they have sessions like that that appeal more to the IT technical crowd this year, and that's the first time they're doing something like that. But it is primarily a K-12 environment, so I'm excited to hear what Tom has to say about how you can bring the idea of MOOCs into K-12 and some of the sticky situations that occur.
Yeah, I hope you
that.
broadcast that or record that, because I'd love to see that one too. That's an interesting, and I'd love to hear it done. I mean, The other thing that's interesting to me about VSTE, from what I can only tell from the outside looking in, is, it's in a particular place to kind of capture Virginia higher ed IT, because I can't think of another conference that really does.
Yeah.
Maybe ACCS,
Yeah.
but what other Virginia conference deals with ed tech or teaching? They're also splintered. Like, it's an open market for Virginia schools, and frankly, Virginia schools are doing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seemed like it would be a good place.
Yeah, now that you say that, I can't think of anything. So
It's and it's a huge conference. It's a huge organization. They've been around 26 years, and really, when you look at it in terms of ISTE and the other states involved in the national organization, Virginia's up near the top, in the top 5 states for education technology. So,
Yeah, Virginia's a really interesting little enclave, and people can talk their smack about Virginia, but when you think about the schools in Virginia and what they're doing with ed tech, I mean, few places in the country have a concentration like that I can think of.
and I have to say, before I came to Mary Washington, one of the things I loved about going to VSTE was what always appealed to me from the K-12 standpoint and the people there. It always seemed like, for some reason, at least a lot of the ones that got highlighted at the conference, they were extremely flexible in what they could get away with and what they could do. And now that I'm in Mary Washington, I kind of get the feel that we can do a little bit more like that, but at Longwood, that was never the case. But at K-12, even more so, it's like, oh, we're using Google Apps. Yeah, that was a no-brainer. We're going to use Google Apps because Google products are what everyone uses. And that's the kind of stuff that in higher ed, it's like, no, we're going to use Microsoft Exchange. It's just, it's so much more corporate in the higher ed world, whereas in K through 12, it just seems more practical. Like, we'll use this because it's working for us or that. So it's always interested me, but they have their own set of issues just in terms of having to use internet filtering because of certain laws applying to that, and how you get students on the web but keep them safe. And so there's tons of issues surrounding that. So you see a lot of that come out
but
too.
You probably see a lot of rogue teachers who are rooting around the power structure in interesting ways, and some of them probably have to keep it on the down low because they're dealing with minors. But speaking of why Tom Woodward is the VSTE Leader of the Year this year, I mean, I had the pleasure to go down to Henrico and see some of the stuff they're doing.
Right.
And like, he's running the ITRT. So if you don't know how Virginia public schools are set up, basically every school has at least one ITRT, at least at Henrico.
Which is an instructional technology specialist.
Resource
basically.
teacher,
Yeah,
right?
a resource teacher, but a specialist.
So he works with the people who work with the ITRTs and who actually integrate instructional technology into all the schools in Henrico County. And they have a pretty impressive WordPress space. They're doing all the stuff on 21st century skills. They're integrating media and the creation of media into the curriculum. I mean, he's doing some wonderful stuff down there. And Henrico has the one-to-one, but not just a one-to-one like, hey, we have a one-to-one, but a one-to-one that has applications like WordPress, Audacity, and all this stuff where they're actually building stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's doing there is really remarkable.
Well, and they just deployed an iPad in every single elementary classroom, and he was a part of that, and they're going to be speaking on that too. So that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, they're doing some wild stuff, and I'm sure that's not just them. I'm sure they're doing it all over the state.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we'd like to hear your kind of wrap up when you come back.
Absolutely.
So that'd be interesting.
So I'm excited. If you want to know more about the conference, the site that I actually designed for them, but that's all about their conference stuff and not the organization, is VSTEconference.org. If you go to VSTE.org, you can find out more about the organization itself and the background for that. But VSTEconference.org has more of the schedule of what's going to be going on in the coming few days, and what the conference is really about and what happens at it. So
are you bringing your big wheel to ride around the Hotel Rona?
I am.
Okay.
Let's hope I don't see any naked chicks in the bathtub.
Or twins?
Just remember, Timmy boy, there ain't nothing in room 237, so stay out. You hear me? Stay out. Mr. Holleran, are you afraid of that hotel?
Thanks for watching, folks.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.